Hey everyone, let's get a small glimpse into the President of India under the Union Executive. You would already know the Union is dealt under Part 5 of the Constitution. So, getting into the President, what I have to say is that he he or she exercises the executive powers of the Union either directly or indirectly through his or her subordinates in accordance with the Constitution of India. Next up, all executive actions of the government is taken under the president's name. Next, third part is that he is the supreme command of the defense forces of our nation, and such supreme command of the president is exercised in accordance with law. The fourth point is that he does a lot of appointments. So one of the appointments is that he appoints the prime minister and the council of ministers on the advice of the prime minister. Next up, there are even more appointments. So the next kind of appointment would be that he is the one who appoints certain high functionaries such as the Supreme Court judges and High Court judges and the governors of the state, also the Comptroller and Auditor General and the Attorney General of India. Also he has a few diplomatic powers in the way that he is the one who appoints the diplomats sent to foreign countries. Also he receives the foreign diplomats in our country. Also, he is the one who appoints the pro tem speaker of the Lok Sabha and the acting chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Remember that when it comes to speaker, it is always related to Lok Sabha, and when it comes to the chairman, it is related to the Rajya Sabha. The next power we will be dealing with his legislative powers. For example, regarding bills, that he is the one who makes certain ordinances, that is promulgates or make widely known ordinances at a time when the parliament is not in session and there is a huge need. And when such ordinances are promulgated, it has the same force and effect as any parliamentary law. And about the extent of the ordinance making power of the president can make ordinances only regarding matters in which the parliament can make laws. And the continuance of the ordinance is subject to parliamentary approval and the enactment of any laws to replace such ordinances. Next up, we'll deal with a few things what the president does in the parliament. This president is an integral part of the parliament, just like the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha are integral parts of the parliament. So, as such an integral part of the parliament, he can summon any of the two houses, either jointly or independently. Next up, he can prorogue the sittings of the two houses, and then he can dissolve the Lok Sabha. Also, he is the one who addresses the joint sitting, that is the sitting of the two houses, at the beginning of each year and also at the first session after every general election. Also, the President of India can send messages to the houses and address both or either House of Parliament. This I have mentioned before. Next up, regarding bills, any bill cannot become law unless it has the assent of the President. And with regard to certain categories of bills such as money bills and finance bills, these bills can be introduced and proceeded by the Parliament only on the President of India's recommendation. The next point would be that he is the one who causes the budget, also known as annual financial statement under Article 112 in our Constitution. Remember, the term budget is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. It is annual financial statement. He causes this budget to be laid before the House, before the Parliament every year. And also, he is the one who lays other reports of certain constitutional functionaries before the Parliament. So, who are these constitutional functionaries? They would include many commissions and also the reports of the Comptroller and Auditor General, the reports of the Finance Commission, Next, the Union Public Service Commission and certain commissions related to SC, that is scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes. He is the one who causes the reports to be laid before the parliament. Next, what happens during the case of final disagreement between the two houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, with regard to some kind of bills? At such a moment of disagreement, the president can summon a joint sitting of the two houses. It is the president's power. Next up, we are going to deal with two powers of nomination of the president. The first power would be that whenever there is a no adequate representation of Anglo-Indians within the Lok Sabha, it is the president who nominates not more than 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. There is another kind of nomination, that is a nomination of 12 people. So who are these 12 people? These 12 people are either experts or who have special knowledge or practical experience in certain fields such as science, arts, then social service and literature. Next up, he is the one who gets to decide whether any member of parliament attracts disqualifications under Article 102 Clause 1. Remember, Article 102 Clause 1 is regarding disqualification of membership. And he decides such a matter with regard to or with the help of the Election Commission of India's opinion. Next up, another important part, that is Article 72. It is under Article 72 that the president has a few powers to grant pardon, remissions, reprieves and respites of offences, and also to suspend, remit or commute sentences of any person. And he can do all these things with regard to 3 matters. That is, when there is, first one is when there is court martial. The second one is when it is with regard to any offence under the union law, under any union law including the IPC, etc. And the third one is regarding a sentence of death, that is death penalty. And so he is independent of the judiciary, but he does not function as a court of appeal. So the main aim of Article 72 is that there should be correction of judicial error and there should be a relief from harsh punishments. Next up, finally, the president has emergency powers. Remember, it is the president who proclaims emergency, 3 kinds of emergency under Article 352, 356 and 360. Under Article 352, he proclaims national emergency. Under 356, he or she proclaims state emergency. And finally, 360, financial emergency. And these are a few glimpses into the powers of the president.